Hey guys, welcome to the channel. Hope you are well. Strong signals. I want to talk about both Micron and Amazon. There's some strong signals in the marketplace right now that I think should boost our confidence in both of the stocks, and particularly with one of them. There's some indicators out there right now that this stock may be ready for a breakout. Today's video, we're going to talk about that, but if you haven't done it already, hit like and subscribe. It is amazing to see the growth of this channel. Thank you to each and every one of you if you're watching, all the engagement you've had. But you know what? We still have 90% of our viewers that haven't subscribed. We need to get that number lower. So if you haven't subscribed yet and you find value in these videos, just hit subscribe for me. It would mean a lot, and I appreciate your time and joining the channel. So let's talk about tomorrow. The markets are closed. Such a disappointing day for me. I'm sure it is for you. I love to wake up, track the stocks, track the top sectors that I like, particularly the tech sector, the top stocks that I like. How are they performing? How are they moving throughout the day? What is influencing the stock one way or the other? I love that part of the market overall. And so won't be able to do that tomorrow. I'll have to wait for the opening bell on Tuesday, but there are some ways we can keep our eye on our favorite stocks. For me, it's Micron. I'll be able to keep my eye on it on a couple different ways. One, I can look at some different exchanges, obviously some European exchanges, as well as the Asian exchanges, and see if there's any indication how this stock will move on Tuesday morning. The Frankfurt exchange is the second largest exchange for Micron outside of the US, so we'll keep our eye on it there. It's actually traded under MTE on the Frankfurt exchange. If you're interested, you could watch it as well. We could also look at it to the London Stock Exchange. There it's traded under 0RT2. And finally, the Asian markets. Not a lot of movement or volume for Micron in the Asian markets, but there are for their key competitors, so Samsung and SK Hynix. I'll keep an eye on, is there any news breaking related to both of those companies? Is there anything big coming out of Korea? Because we know that'll have an impact on Micron moving into the market on Tuesday. If there's something big that breaks tomorrow, we'll probably see some negative movement from Micron in the pre-market hours coming into Tuesday. I think the other thing we could keep our eye on is other related companies. So ASML, in any big news related to that behemoth of a company will have an impact on the whole sector, including Micron. I think there's also some big Japanese semiconductor companies such as Electron and Avantis. If there's anything big there, that could have an influence into the sector as well. So things for us to watch and just keep our eye on, as I mentioned, to gauge and try to predict overall will it have impact. The reality is probably little unless it's major news, because most of the volume and the liquidity from Micron is here in the U.S. market. We know that with our big institutional investors, they're moving the majority of the volume for Micron. But it is interesting to me. I don't know if it is to you. I'm curious in that regard. I want to see what is happening with the stock. What is the news related around the stock and around the sector, and what impact may that have on some of the players in the world? But today in this video particularly, I wanted to focus on a couple big stories or big signals, one for Micron and one for Amazon. So make sure you stay to the end for Amazon, because I'm really going to break down some of the technical aspects of the stock and what we've been seeing over the last couple of years and why it may predict a breakout right now. I think you'll find a lot of value in it, so make sure you stay for that portion of the video. But let's jump in first and just talk about what we're seeing first and foremost with some confidence. Hopefully this boosts your confidence, but what confidence we're seeing from Micron. So based on the most recent 13F filings, we did see that Renaissance has dropped $520 million on a surging tech stock. I'm sure you can guess which one that is, but yeah, it's Micron. So Jim Simmons Fund, they dropped $520 million, as you can see here, picked up, or they added nearly an almost 2 million additional shares, just over 1.8 million shares at the amount of 520 that I mentioned. And the reason why is because of, has everything to do, and I'll pull down here, everything to do with the high demand that we see for memory companies and AI, and particularly the high demand that we're seeing with high bandwidth memory. Jim went on to say that this movement or this stock has everything to do with high bandwidth memory being the most supply constrained and strategically critical part of the chip world. You can see above, I have it highlighted. They actually pulled back some of their holdings in NVIDIA as well as Google to acquire more within Micron. It's such a strong testament, I think, to the stock. To me, when you take a look at some of the 13F filings that we saw, not only with Renaissance, but we also saw that BlackRock reconfirmed their position within Micron. BlackRock currently has just under 94 million shares. It's roughly about 8.5% of the company. They're the second largest shareholder within Micron. Vanguard has about 10% of Micron overall as the largest individual shareholder in the company. But when you see these big institutional investors reconfirm their position, acquire more. So when we're seeing Renaissance, we're seeing BlackRock, Vanguard acquire more or reconfirm their position, to me, it gives a lot of confidence in the stock. I hope it does to you as well. We know the demand, we know the price points, and the fundamentals are strong. I'm really trying to wait until that March 19th earnings because I expect big revenues and I expect movement with this stock. But hopefully that boosted your confidence as well. Now, the second one I want to talk about is a stock that has been struggling. I talked about it earlier as one that was in a bearish signal or closing in on a bearish signal, and that's Amazon. Amazon, we know, currently closed at 198.79 at the end of the market. We have some strong signs here. I'm going to pull that over because I think when I'm looking at the indicators on this, there's some signals here that that it blew me away, quite frankly. And I think we may be in a situation where history is repeating itself if the stock follows the same patterns that we've seen. So I'm going to jump in and show you that. You guys drop a comment below. Let me know if you agree, if you think I'm totally crazy with what I'm saying. I'd love to hear your thoughts. But let's jump over and take a look. And you can see here, this goes back to the time of August of 2024, which is marked by the low measure on your screen, and the highlighted down here of 151.61 for the stock back in August of 2024. And what I want to draw your attention to is two things. I'm going to mention this a couple times, but one, you see where the stock was, it hit its low point, look below with the relative strength index, the indicator there. So it is below that line of 30. And we know they mentioned anything below 30 gives a sign that the stock is oversold and it's ready for a bounce back. We saw that bounce back, and I want to focus on the first 4 months after the bounce back. So the first 4 months takes us back up to December 16th when the stock hit $233 a share, right in this time frame up here. So that is a 54% return for the stock in that 4 month time frame. And we know what was happening. And guys, I want you to really think about these factors that were happening in those time frames because it applies to what we're happening right now. So three things are really happening back in August of 2024. So one is there was some weak earnings and guidance from Amazon, and that was related to consumer spending metrics, but they just missed their earnings. They provided a soft guidance. That hurt the stock. We also saw some fears in the recession, the U.S. recession at that time frame. So our unemployment rate got up to about 4.3%. The Fed didn't cut taxes, or were waited too long to cut the interest rate, And also we saw a weird phenomenon with the Bank of Japan where there was a sudden interest rate hike, which caused, there were some investors that were borrowing cheap yen. They borrowed cheap yen to buy U.S. stocks like Amazon, and that forced them to sell their position. So those three factors really caused this drive down. But we saw such a strong bounce back over that 4 month period, a 54% return. That's the first time we saw the RSI in the last couple of years that gets significantly low. The second time, I'm going to jump you right over to here, and that's of April 7th of last year. So we saw it get, again, dip below. And if you look at the 4 months leading after that, I'm going to draw your attention right up here, and that's about July, end of July. The stock got back up to almost $237 a share. That is a 47% increase in that time frame. This is where it gets wild to me. Everything related to the stock in April of time frame of last year was all around AI spend for AWS and for AI build out and all the capital expenditures that Amazon had. They committed to $100 billion last year, as you may know, around capital expenditures. They did see some decelerating operating incomes, and there was a bit of this market sentiment shift around the Mag 7 spending too much on AI and not seeing a return on investment. And boy, that sounds like we are where we are right now. 100 billion in that time frame, they've committed 200 billion this year. So those are the factors that were affecting it. We saw that big 4 month growth. Again, RSI was below 30. Look where we are at the end of the market. RSI is below 30 again. I mentioned that the stock closed at 198.79 at the end of the market. If I just average out those 2 4-month growths. Let's just call it a 45% return. If we're able to see in the next 4 months that Amazon has this bounce back and we see a 45% return, that would put the stock price at $288 a share. And what I want to draw your attention to now is if I just look over here and kind of look at what the analyst estimates are, you can see on your screen the price targets for Amazon across the board, whether it's Cantor Fitzgerald at 250 or all the way up to Citizens at 315, significant upside. But guys, the 12-month price target, look right there, is 282, 42% upside to where we're trading today. Now that is pretty eerie compared to what I just mentioned. If I said a 4-month bounce back for what we saw historically in 2 periods where RSI got below 30 with this stock, and predicting that could get to 288 a share, that would get right up pretty darn close to where these analysts are saying the price target would be. Now, I don't know if it'll exactly do that, but I think if history follows itself at all, we could see a strong bounce back with Amazon, particularly if you think last year, a lot of it related to the same factors that we see in the market. We also know Fed is waiting too long to cut the interest rates right now. So that also takes us back to the same overall factors we may have seen in 2024. So let me know what your thoughts are there. Do you think I'm wild and crazy, as I just mentioned, or are we ready to see an Amazon bounce back based on what we've seen historically in 2024 and 2025, and the RSI gets below 30? Amazon fundamentals are strong. Yes, they're spending quite a bit on capital expenditures, but if you're a believer in the AI build out like I am, if you're a believer in some of the other pieces around robotics that Amazon is doing and the efficiencies and the savings that it'll show over time, this is a stock that is at such a bargain right now at 198 a share. Something for you to consider. You need to do the research. You're going to take the risk, so make sure it's the right fit for you. I just wanted to show you those indicators and let me know what you think. I think those are strong signals both for Micron with the institutional investment and the trust they have in that company overall, and what we're seeing with Amazon. So hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you guys have a great holiday tomorrow. If you're off work, unfortunately I'm not, but if you are, enjoy the holiday, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Take care.